be careful, we will do a test in the end on the abbreviations, so you should be very receptive here and listen what we are talking about. So first of all, thank you for the opportunity to present here, and on behalf of the LIH, we would like to share a bit of information on the LIH in general, and then on our department in particular. I hope you do see the slides. Does that work? Jean-Philippe, can you just confirm, because I don't see what you see?
It's working very well.
Okay, good. So you might know the LIH as a biomedical research organization, and today we will focus less on the research, more on the research support. The LIH has 3 research departments: of cancer research, of infection and immunity, Department of Precision Health. So these are true research departments. And then there is a 4th department, which is a bit of an odd one, because the Translational Medicine Operations Hub, a very catchy name, as you see, is not a research department in itself. What we are doing is we are supporting research. We are providing infrastructure to support research, and in particular, clinical or translational research. So the slogan of the LIH is research dedicated to life. And as said, we are not doing research, we are doing research support. That's why for us, I changed it a bit. It's research services dedicated to life. And you see one of the, let's say, challenges or the opportunities for us here on the slide already. We are spread across Luxembourg. So currently I'm here in this building at the Biobank in Dudelange. Then we have the LCTR, the Forschungsklinik, which is next to the CHL, right in the center of Luxembourg. We have the so-called Edison building, which is in Strassen, close to the CHL as well. And then, for example, our cytometry platform is based in the House of Biohealth in Esch. So we are close to you, as you see, wherever you are, for example, in Luxembourg. Now, why was this department created next to the research department? So you will see that most of what is contained by the department, like the units that Manon and Michel, for example, are heading, they were created already a while ago. So some of them are more than 10 years old, but they were scattered across the departments of the LIH in the past. And the idea was to create really one department which provides all the services in a kind of seamless way. So you don't have to worry which kind of service you need. You just need to contact basically our project management office, and then you will be guided to whatever kind of service you do request. And the idea was to create this, let's say, unified service offer to make it easier for our partners, our clients. But of course, also the idea was here that we create a clear process for projects that run through these departments. So we are not only available for consulting on projects, of course, we will run your projects in a high quality manner and really with a seamless and integrated workflow. And on top, of course, we are aiming for constant improvement. So whatever we do, we try to improve, being it methods, technology, science, and so on. So what does TMOH contain? And why is it called an operations hub? Because we really have a lot of units and joint platforms consolidated in this department. It starts with the Forschungsklinik, so the Luxembourg Clinical and Translational Research Center, as mentioned, which is next to the CHL. And this is maybe the first part where you can see all our collaboration. So we are not alone here in running this in Luxembourg. We are partnering with the CHL, with the National Lab of Luxembourg. Then we work together with the university. So there are a lot of interactions that we have with all the, let's say, research infrastructure in Luxembourg. So with patients and healthy volunteers could be reached through the LCTR, through the Forschungsklinik. The next part in our pipeline is the project management office, as mentioned, which is really the unique contact for all the services you might request from TMOH. Then there is what Jean-Philippe mentioned, the Clinical and Epidemiological Investigation Center, which Manon is heading, where we are somewhat unique because we have study nurses and we have CRAs in this unit. We have the area of Michel, the Competence Center for Methodology and Statistics, so mainly biostatistics and data management topics. And then, of course, we have the biobank as one of the key parts of the organization, and we will go into that in a few moments. Then we have shared platforms which we run with partners. For example, the pathology platform we run together with the Luxembourg National Lab, which is right next door. As mentioned, I'm currently here at the IBBL in Dudenhosch, and we share a building with the National Lab. And the pathology platform we run together with the pathologists of the National Lab. So we have pathology assistants here at the IBBL, and then the assessments, once issued, are once we created slides, have done stainings, have scanned them, then the assessments are being done by the pathologists of the LNS in their, let's call it, spare time. So this is not their routine work, but this is research work that they like to support. Also with the LNS, we share the so-called Luxembourg Genome Center, where we tap into the enormous equipment that the LNS has in this area. So we can use the sequencing facilities from the LNS again for our projects that we run as part of TMOH. And finally, there's the disease modeling and screening platform that we have together with the LCSB of the University of Luxembourg. So as mentioned, the idea was to integrate all these parts into one organization to make it easier, accessible, and manageable for our partners. And this is not just lip service, where we say that we put these units together. When we created this department about 2 years ago, we really took the time to look into the project process. So how would a project be operationalized? We looked at the phases that such a project has, and we looked really at all the pieces that are needed to move this project forward. And for each step in this process, looked which department or which unit needs to contribute to make clear then ultimately what are the deliverables per process step, and who has to contribute to this to make this really a smooth and seamless project workflow. As said, let's have a quick look in a few more details at this before the colleagues do take over. As mentioned, we have the Forschungsklinik, which is the central access point to work with patients and healthy volunteers. So we have a building next to the CHL in the center of Luxembourg, where we have staff working from the CHL and from the LIH. And these staff will really work with patient and healthy volunteers. Projects that are being run here are selected by a joint committee where hospitals of Luxembourg are involved, as well as the LNS and the university, and we jointly select the projects that should be operationalized in these facilities. And basically, this facility is open to any kind of research, being it from Luxembourgish partners or from also commercial or industrial partners outside, wherever they are coming from. We have the project management office, where, as you can imagine, which is the main point of contact, but this is also the command bridge, so to speak, for a TMOH project, because they have the full oversight of the project end to end. So from start to end, they will supervise the project, guide through all the steps, track milestones and deliverables, are checking the project budget and cost. So this is really the central piece for oversight of the project. Manon will go into this a bit more in detail also for the next one, just to mention that we have, I think quite a unique structure. We have here study nurses and CRAs, so we can support projects on all levels, meaning we can work truly with patients, even going to patients' homes if required, or we support with the CRAs, the research sites, so study nurses and the principal investigators of investigational sites. And both parts, CPMO and CIC, they support also all the regulatory requirements, so we can even write protocols and submit them to CNER and the ministry, whatever kind of service you require. But Manon will have more details on this. The same, only briefly touching the area of Michel, where we have biostatisticians who can support statistical planning and analysis, as well as data managers who can set up the ECRFs and databases for any study that you would like to run. Where I would go into a bit more detail now is the biobank, because by chance I'm also head of the biobank of Luxembourg. And so when you think of a biobank, it's probably mostly around storage, but the IBBL goes far beyond this. There's a lot of processing that we can do at IBBL. Of course, we also do sample analyze and quality control. As mentioned, we can we work together with the LNS to provide pathology services and do proficiency testing for labs basically around the world, where we have partners who receive material from IBBL for the proficiency testing exercise. And to walk you through how projects do look like from the IBBL perspective, to make sure that we can guarantee the utmost quality of samples, we do start with even the production of collection kits. So if you want to run a project, we propose that we provide and create also the collection kits so that we have this standardized, even if you might involve multiple centers in a study, like we do now for the Clenova project, for example, where we have, I think, around 10 sites involved in Luxembourg, Germany, and France. And for example, IBBL then works with the PIs to clarify what kind of samples would you like to draw, what kind of analysis do you want to do. Then we define what tubes should be used for this exercise, and we will provide the kits, meaning the tubes, needles, everything you need to draw blood. This will be produced here at the IBBL. We shipped to the investigational sites wherever they are. In parallel, basically, Michel's area, the CCMS, can create the ECRF and the database for such a study. From CIST, study nurses and CRAs would support the recruitment of donors and even blood drawing if required. And then this would come together, meaning the samples would be shipped to Dullange. The data, of course, collected in the respective database. Samples would be transported here. They will be scanned into our lab information management system, so to have full traceability. Then they can either go into storage, or depending on what the project requests, they can also be processed, for example, DNA or RNA extracted, and then tested for quality, and then go either into storage or be distributed again to partners who will do further analysis. Like for in the Clenova project, all the samples will come to Luxembourg, will then be processed here and be shipped again to various partner sites where they then will be analyzed. Just to give you an idea, we have more than 3 million samples in storage. After COVID times, testing and processing goes down now a bit to a normal level of around 250,000 samples per year. In the last years, we've created nearly 20,000 kits here, which were shipped then to all the partner sites around the world that we are working with. And from the distribution, the majority is blood that we are storing, but we have also urine, cells, tissues, then of course nucleic acids, stools. So whatever you can imagine as a biospecimen can be stored at the IBBL. Nearly there, just to give you an idea of the scale of TMOH, we usually run around 100 projects in parallel. Last year, the budget of the department was 11 million euros, of which 40% come from external funding, so which is EU projects, projects funded by the FNR or by consortia and industry partners. We have around 100 people at the TMOH. Most of the staff is here at IBBL, of course, because it's very, let's say, labor intensive. Then we have around 20 people in CIC, 16 in CPMO, 11 in the CCMS, and we also support the platforms that I mentioned for sequencing and the university, so that all adds up to around 100 persons. And here at IBBL, to finish this, we have facilities of roughly of 1,500 square meters. We can store all kinds of samples, meaning in LN2 tanks, we have -80 freezers, -20 freezers, fridges, and room temperature opportunities. And we are adding around 5 -80 freezers per year because of the increasing number of samples. And there's a large tanker for LN2 outside so that we are sure that we can safely store samples. That's why we also have more than, I think in the meantime, more than 120 sensors and 35 data loggers, meaning we are guaranteeing the storage 24/7. So there is constant control of the storage environment, and we have people on call. So if during the night there would be an issue with any kind of devices, people will come and shift samples, for example, into a spare freezer. Good. A final look at the kind of projects we run, but I think Manon will cover this more in detail. So we have samples collections within Luxembourg, interesting ones like in oncology or much cited currently the ND collection in Parkinson's disease, for example. Then of course COVID projects, but we're also partner for, especially the IBBL partner for EU projects and for academic partners, where we are the central repository and lab. And we have very interesting projects with pharma partners in recent years, for example, with Synergile and with Roche. But again, I think Manon is touching this in a minute. So that's basically all as an overview of the department in general, finishing with the IBBL motto of better samples will allow better data, and with that, better science. Thanks for your attention to this one. And I think we move on straight away to Manon to continue with Hochschul's Clinic and beyond. Does it work? Do you see the slides again? Okay, good. Manon.
Thanks a lot, Herman. Hello to everybody. I'm very pleased to show you today a little bit where the CIC and the CPMO can support you when you build up your clinical research projects. I'm actually heading, like it has been mentioned before, the Clinical Project Management Office that has been recently created, really to oversee all those larger translational transversal research projects that we are currently running. And I'm also heading, since 2008, the Clinical and Epidemiological Investigation Center. This center has been created back then because there was a really need out there to have a unit that can provide support to clinical research. Clinical research has been done in the past by the different hospitals, but it has never been really organized, and the hospitals also were lacking resources to run those projects. So the idea at that time was to create this center and to have it located within the Luxembourg Institute of Health, just to be also able to work with all the hospitals and all the research institutions in Luxembourg. Can you please show the next slide, Herman? Thank you. So the CPMO, we have here dedicated staff. We have project manager and team leads. We have really high qualified staff that have high expertise in biobanking and clinical research. What we want to be is the single point of contact for research projects, so that we can then first discuss with the principal investigator the projects and then be able will liaise with all the stakeholders internally involved, like the CCMS, like the biobank, really to align everybody and to make those projects go forward smoothly. Here we also have supporting tools like project management tool and the cost calculator. We are working according to standard operating procedures that we have elaborated during the first 2 years of our existence. We have the project coordination, and we really assure that the projects are implemented smoothly and that timelines are met, and of course budgets are also met. Next slide, please. So yeah, what we want really to do on a day-to-day basis, as you can see, we are embedded in the TMOH, and we are really the centerpiece of all these different units. And we want to guide our investigator through these different processes and really design projects that in the end work and have meaningful results for our participants. We provide specific expertise, like I said already, in biobanking and clinical research, and we interact closely with all stakeholders internally, but also externally with the different research institutions, the sponsors, and different hospitals. So we coordinate the planning and implementation of all the clinical research projects within LRH, but also externally. Next slide, please. For the CIC, we have set up different missions. So we are really there to provide an operational support to the clinicians and the researchers to run their research projects. We also protect the patient's rights and guarantee their safety. We are working according to the data privacy regulation and good clinical practices. What we also do is promoting clinical research, because we do not have this clinical research culture that you can find in other countries, mainly because we also do not have a university hospital. So what we did very strongly in the beginning was going out and promoting clinical research, also that participants and patients feel reassured that the research that we are doing is really done according to strict guidelines and a strict framework. And we participate in different networks like the EVF-GCP, the Good European Forum for Good Clinical Practice, the EPATI, which is really trying to involve patients and participants in the design of the studies. And we also go out and educate our students and children really to get involved in research, and we want to show what different kind of jobs are available in this research community. Next slide, please. So we see ourselves really in between research and clinic. So we have a strong focus on the patients, because we want to guarantee their rights and that their safety are prevailing. We stand for data privacy and also good clinical practice. And on the other hand, we also have a strong focus on the hospitals and the clinicians, and also the researchers, and we assist them in supporting them in the conduct of the study, meaning that we have the research nurses that can go to the clinical sites and help performing the research programs according to the protocol. Those nurses can also, like Herman already mentioned, go to the patient's home, because sometimes it's also cumbersome for the participants to come to the LCTR for the visit. So we are able also to visit them at home to collect data and samples. And we are also, of course, monitoring the quality of the data. And last but not least, we have this activity of promoting clinical research. Next slide, please. Here's just to give you an overview of all the different steps that are involved when you design a clinical research project. And here you can nicely see that CIC is really focusing on the operation, meaning giving all the support that is needed during the operational phase, together with the Competence Center for Methodology and Statistics, as well as the IBBL and other platforms involved. And the CPMO is overseeing all these different processes, so that we really can deliver what we have to deliver during those projects. And we, as I said previously, we are really focusing on meeting the timelines, deliverables, and meeting the budget, of course. Next slide, please. This is a slide you have been seeing already. It's just to give you an overview of the different types of studies we are running. So we have been able to set up different sample collections within Luxembourg. Here we can also build on the neurodegenerative disease collection, the ANDID collection that was done in the frame of the National Center for Excellence in Research in Parkinson's disease. We have been building up 2 cohorts during the pandemic. One, the PREDICOVID, for the predicting of the severity of the infection, and the CONVINCE was more interested in the prevalence and the spread of the COVID-19 within the population. And here we could also build on an existing cohort that was the first one, that was a nationwide cohort that was representative for Luxembourg, and where we also have been able to monitor the cardiovascular health in Luxembourg residents. For the biobank, we are involved in many European projects where we are really the central lab and the biorepository for different partners and clients. And then last but not least, we are heavily involved also in clinical trials that we run together with the clinicians at the hospitals, because for the clinical trials involving patients, we need the hospital setting to run this project. And what is really nice here is that we could build on the existing cohort of the ND, the neurodegenerative collection, to be able to involve also patients in clinical research programs like the like the SCOL and the Padova studies, where we were able, on the one hand, to test the new device for continuous delivering of L-DOPA in the patients, and the other one, the Padova study, really allowed to propose the first curative treatment to our patients by means of this study. So that was also a nice return for the participants and the patients to be able to take advantage of those studies and the drugs and the devices that have been proposed through those studies. Next slide, please. So I wanted to also touch briefly upon the Luxembourg Center for Translational Research, the Forschungsklinik Luxembourg, where it's also important to understand that we have two parts. We have the translational research that we run in the outpatient general population, where we are building our cohorts, and we also have the clinical research, the classical clinical research that we run together with the CHL in inpatient population. We have actually current initiatives and programs that we run at the LCTR, which are the NICER PD, also the trials I mentioned before in Parkinson's disease, and we have different programs in cancer research that are also run, and of course the Clinova initiative is also happening within the LCTR. The LCTR is meant to be the bridge between the clinician and the research, bringing all the people together and align them in their endeavor. Next slide, please. Just to show you what it looks like, and not only talking about it. So we have also at the LCTR consultation boxes, we have a waiting area for the participants, a reception, and we have, and that I think is really important and is really an added value to the LCTR, we also have an IBBL satellite lab within these premises, allowing also a swift processing of the samples that we then collect during the visits that are happening at the LCTR. And here we can really assure that the samples are processed and stored really in a timely manner according to the requirements of the research protocol. Another very important item for us is that we here in the LCTR have a close relation to the CHL Clinical Research Unit, meaning that we are working hand in hand to allow a swift implementation of the research project that we run together with the clinicians. Next slide, please. Within this LCTR structure, we can then provide different kind of supports. We have then the premises that we can make at disposal. We have the joint CHL-LIH clinical trial coordination when it comes to clinical studies. We have the CRAs that are really there to guide you through the regulatory approval of your project, and also to follow up on the safety reporting that is necessary to the authorities, as well as the data monitoring to assure that we have good quality data and the training. We have, like has been said before, the study nurses that are able to perform the visits within the LCTR or the clinics or at patients' home. We work here also, we have the CCMS with whom we are working and where Michelle is going to give you more details soon. And we have the CPMO project management. So this all together really allows us to set up the projects in a timely manner and also to implement meaningful research projects with important outcomes for the participants. Next slide, please. This all together here we have at the LCTR the multidisciplinary team working efficiently together. We have patients that are informed and committed for clinical research. This allows us to have new drugs or devices authorized for clinical investigation within 60 days, because we have also this open dialogue with our authorities and the ethical committees for swift approval. So that is what I wanted to say in a nutshell, and I would thank you and pass over to my colleague Michel.
Thank you, Manon. So I will try to be short so that if you have questions, you can have time to ask these. So I'm Michel Vaillant. I'm the head of the. I have no presentation now, and so thank you, Herman. So I'm the head of the Competence Center in Methodology and Statistics, and here you can see an overview of the services we can provide with. So that's important to speak about study design and statistical methodology at the inception of any project, so that we can have an idea of the size of the project. It's really important to know in advance what will be the methodology of this project, because questions behind are on budget, the number of participants that we have to enroll in the studies is really important. So of course there are pure statistical services like sample size calculation or statistical analysis. I can speak about that later on. And also the data systems in order to collect the data, doing data management in order to store and clean those data that we collect for the project or the study. And also to be in line with GCP, GDPR, and good clinical data management practices. For example, we also manage not only the database for the let's say clinical data from the patients, but also the table of correspondences, so that you only have pseudonymized data in your clinical database, and this is really completely separated and not shared, of course, and you are compliant with the GDPR. Next slide, please, Herman. So I would say that the data management processes are really clear and follow the same line from one study to another, starting with a CRF design, where you will state each and every question you want to have the patient to answer, or the investigator to provide with, and this is really the start of the data management process. Next slide, please. Then this document is put into the form of what we call a eCRF, or that's data entry mask. Now that it is available not only within the premises, but also outside through an Internet Explorer, that we can call that an electronic CRF. So we provide this service as well, and we have been using different and testing different software, but now for example, one of the most used is RedCap. That's the most fancy, I would say, but we have specific software dedicated to clinical trials, because there are specific requirements for clinical trials where the objective is to present a new medicine to the regulatory agencies, such as the European Medicine Agencies or the Federal Drug Administration. So there are specific requirements for that. And the next thing, which is one of the most important, is the data quality. So that there are processes in place in order to check for data quality, which within clinical data management are performed by programming automatic quality controls, but data quality starts with the people at CIEC and goes through CCMS services as well. So that's really something that is embedded between the different part of TMOH in order to have at the end a database with a high data quality, so that when you want to analyze this data, you have less biased analysis results. Next slide, please. Yeah, now more about statistics. When I was speaking of the design and statistical methodology, sorry, that's really that. So you have really a lot of possible designs, and these depend on the question that is asked. If you go for the clinical validation of a device, of a new tool, then we will have to define the endpoint, and that's really an important part, to define this endpoint, which will allow the sample size calculation and the definition of the statistical analysis at the end, and as well to conclude on the study. So it is really important in order to define this endpoint, because it drives everything in the development of a new device. And can you go back, Herman, please? and then there is, after this design and statistical methodology that happened at the inception of the study, then we have the statistical analysis and reporting, where we have a range of methods available in order to provide the results on the study. Can you go to next slide, please? So here, this is the CCMS team. That's about 11 people, including also trainees and visiting researchers. That's 4 data managers and 6 statisticians, and the team will grow by beginning of next year, because we have a lot to do, especially for the methodology. And but this team is managing about 17 projects in data management and 13 in statistics. So that's already a lot for these people. Yeah, 12 years or more that CCMS is created, and we are growing in order to provide the best services for translational research. Thank you, and we are waiting for your questions.
Yeah, thank you very much, Herman, Manon, and Michel for this presentation. I think that now it's time for questions. We got like more than 30 minutes, so it will be short, but let's see what happens. So on the top of your screen, probably you got end like this, in which you can like press in order to say, I have a question to ask, and then I will let you like ask directly your questions. So far, I see no hand raised. Do we have a question from the audience? Okay, actually, I got one, at least one. I got 2 or 3. Okay, maybe one easy one for Herman. What are your collaborating models?
I think there are mainly 2. So in a lot of projects, we have researchers from the LIH involved, means that we are partners in the project. So the other one is, of course, where we provide a kind of fee for service, where we are just being used as a service provider, which is fine as well for us. So these are the main ones that we have. So, but often for the Luxembourgish project, we have a PI also from the LIH.
Okay, clear. Thank you so much. My second question is on. So you mentioned different topics in which you are currently working a lot. So oncology, neurology, immunology. Manon also has mentioned e-health and devices. Are there like some rules that you have, and maybe some topics in which you are more comfortable, or is that not true at all, and you can like work on every subject? I don't know. Question for Herman or Manon, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe I can start. So, I mean, basically, we are fine to work in every area that comes across. But of course, there are areas where we have more experience than in others, or where we might even have. I mean, I think the PD cohort, Parkinson's or neurodegenerative cohort, of course, is a great example where you can tap into an existing resource. So this is, of course, very attractive for partners because there is a cohort already built up where we have data, where we have samples. Of course, that is nice to be explored. But in general, we are fine in any area, just that we have, of course, closer ties, let's say in oncology or immunology with partners already where we have more experience. But Manon, maybe you want to add to that.
Yeah, maybe I can add. It's really, we have the framework, we have the setting, we have the resources, and we can practically build up the projects together with the PI according to their needs. What is important to know is also that we need somehow the link to the clinician. So we need somehow, when we're working on a patient cohort, also to involve clinician in that specific area. And here we are working closely with the hospitals, but that would be a pre-requirement also to setting up these projects in a meaningful manner.
Excellent. And we have a question from Peter. Peter Exoathletes, that is a company in Luxembourg working with exoskeleton.
Yeah. Well, can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Right. Thank you. I actually have two questions. I started with one, but while you were talking, I actually developed another one. And I think this is kind of a general kind of question. I mean, thank you very much for the insights of what you do. That's been really helpful, and I've actually learned a lot. The first question would be, what would be the first practical step if we, for example, would like to start a clinical trial, design it, start it, and basically get into this? Who do we get in touch, or what do we do? And sorry, I should probably announce the second question as well, because that might be easier for you to answer it as well. In terms of the preparation from our side, we certainly do have some ideas what we want to do, but just like Manon has said, we're lacking the contact with the clinicians. Maybe they would like to add something. So what shall we come to you, or well, whoever you advise us to come with? Shall we come with a design protocol, or shall we just come and start designing it? What do we do basically? I have something to start with, so tell me what to do.
There's a very, very easy answer for both questions, and it seems I've not been clear enough in my presentation that we have a single kind of single point of contact, which is project management. So there is even an email address for this, cpmo@lih.lu. So basically, you can send your questions in there, and you will get a quick response to get in. So to somebody get in touch with you, and ideally, you involve us as early as possible, because it doesn't help you and it doesn't help us if you have a half-designed protocol, and then in collaboration with maybe CRAs, with Michel in Biostats, we realized that it's not feasible. So the earlier, just when you have an idea of a project, come to us. We can discuss it together. Michel can add his part, Manon can add her part, and we can get you in touch with physicians, clinicians to do a sanity check of what's really feasible in that area.
Right, fantastic. So it's cpmo@lih.lu.
Yeah, exactly. And Manon will answer in the next 10 minutes.
Well, I just saw that there was indeed, thank you, Herman, there was a bit of confusion from my side, to be honest, because you said you wanted to be the first contact point, and then Manon repeated it. So, I mean, I understand you're not working separately, but there's been a bit of confusion. So,
no,
well,
maybe I was not clear. Basically, the shop CPMO, I mean, the area is run by Manon. So, but this is the project management office of TMOH. So we actually said the same thing, but maybe did not verbalize it correctly.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Do we have another question from the audience? Not yet. So maybe I got another one, maybe for Michel. So it looks like there is like a new trends in medicine, especially now with the digital devices, etc. And talking with people around, it looks like it's really, really tough to have like some clear endpoints when you are doing clinical validation on digital medical devices, apps, and so on. What I cannot believe that you got all the in-house expertise to do everything. Yep. So what is your feeling on this?
Well, well, we have been a bit facing this issue with some projects regarding devices, and so of course we don't have the expertise to define all the endpoints regarding the digital tools in-house. So we have to work with, like Manon said, with clinicians in order to see what is done in the clinical practice or where the device would help this clinical practice. And then from that, we can define with the clinicians and the people doing the building the device, what is a meaningful endpoint for the clinical validation. Of course, that's a collaboration. On our side, we cannot define that meaningfully. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, clear. But thank you very much. Maybe a last question. Maybe Arman, is there a difference, like being a company based in Luxembourg when we want to work with you? Where if you compare with like international company, we have seen like Roche is one of your company you are working with. Is there like a preference, a difference, or is that like same question for the size of the company? So Roche is quite like large. And of course, in Luxembourg, we do have also small companies like startups, 1-2 people. The level, like the knowledge of the people in the companies can be very different. So in Roche, we talk with like clinical experts, whereas maybe in startups, it's just like an inventor with plenty of ideas. So how do you manage this kind of like big differences?
Manon, maybe you want to answer?
Yeah, it's really very different, but it also depends on the project, because, for example, if you are working with companies in clinical research, they have a very strict framework, and they have already their idea what they want to do. They have their protocol, they have their objectives. They want they want to get there. So it's more like a fee for service. So we are there just to support them in setting up the trial in Luxembourg. But when we work with small companies in Luxembourg, with startups, we want to be more like a partner, because we need to discuss objectives, we need to discuss involvement of clinicians. So there I think we can also bring a lot more of expertise also through Michel to those projects, and we really can also propose something more meaningful, meaning also involving the IBBL for the biobanking activities, because this allows us to have also qualitative, very highly qualitative samples for the further analysis and so on. So I think for us, it's more cumbersome, I have to say, because we really need also to work with those companies, but we could be more than a partner to those in those collaborations.
Yeah, thank you very much for this answer. So I don't see any additional question. If so, please take the mic, put your mic on and ask a question. If no, I'm seeing that we have 2 minutes to go. So maybe I would like to use this 2 minutes to first thanks the audience and the people that was like listening this presentation today. Of course, I want to provide a big thanks also to the speakers, and that was like very clear. Of course, in case that people they want to ask some questions, we will provide with the presentation, we will provide with the video, and you will find like the emails of the people. In case you don't find the emails, Luxinnovation will be dedicated to provide you with the emails of the people so that you can start working with NIH. To talk about maybe what next we will have. So as you know, we are trying to have this webinar series. So in series, it means that there are some further editions that we are trying to plan. The next one will be on December 5th, so pretty soon. The subject will be around like notified body again. It will be a presentation from Eurofins Scientific, or Eurofins en français. That is a French group, of course, that is quite large, doing many activities like lab testing, supporting service in many sectors like pharmaceutical, food, environment, etc. But of course, we also have this notified body activities that we are very interested in. And thanks, Lauriane, she has put in the chat the link in order that you can register to that event that will occur on the 5th of December. Very interestingly, mid-November, so on the 14th, we will be traveling from Luxembourg to Düsseldorf to attend one day in Medica all together. So we have rented the bus, and you can still register with the Chamber of Commerce and the Ministry of the Economy. Everybody will be on the bus in order to have this big day event on the fair of Medica, where we will have the chance to meet with plenty of very interesting people, including a delegation from Portugal, and also, of course, to meet with the companies, exhibiting companies, and the national company of Luxembourg. But most important, we have like this morning, like last year, that I call the Croissant Day. So it's a breakfast that we organize on the 30 December morning, and you're very welcome also to register. Nothing is planned, no speakers. It's really the thank you, Lauriane, for putting in the chat all the links. And it's really the day where you can see your friends, talk with colleagues, and there will be like a platform in order to you can see the different persons who will attend, so you can really target a specific person in case you want to talk with that person. We're expecting about 150 people. I got like a bet running with the communication department that this year we will reach 200 people. So you're welcome to register and attend to, in case you like croissant and coffee, you're very welcome. Thank you very much again for today. I'm very happy with this, and we will, the very next step is Luxinnovation sharing with you the links so that you can reach the content of this session, PowerPoint presentation, video recording. And as always, feel free to contact our team in case that you get more questions. Happy to discuss with you. We are here dedicated for that. And now I will close. Thank you again, Michel, Herman, and Manon. Thank you to the attendees, and see you soon. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.